have an important topic to discuss this morning. It's a topic on defense, and what we're going to be talking about is what kind of strategy we're going to use in defending the hand. Active or passive is going to be the main focus of the discussion. There will be some other approaches to defense mentioned as well. For instance, the forcing defense, which is far and away the most effective defense that you can have when the conditions are right. So, active or passive, what do we mean by that? And what's the rationale for using each one of those? All right. First off, there are 5 primary lines of defense. You will find that at least one of them can be used in almost every hand. They are, number 1 here, forcing the declarer, the forcing defense. This is a very effective defense because if you force the declarer to use his trumps, then the defense can take over the hand. The people who control the trump suit control the hand. So when you can shorten declarer's trumps, you have the potential to take over the hand, and declarers hate it when that happens. I've had it happen to me several times, and I absolutely hate it. There's active defense. This means that the defense is going to be leading aggressively and trying to take their tricks before they go away. A passive defense is used when you need just to sit back and let the tricks come to you. You don't help the declarer in any way. You don't underlead kings. You don't underlead broken tennises. And we'll talk about how to know whether you choose active or passive defense. Creating trump tricks. We all love to create trump tricks, don't we? And then, if you can cut down on the declarer's ruffing power, that means when declarer's playing in his second suit, for instance, you always want to lead a trump because his first suit very, very seldom will contain all winners, and he's going to want to ruff the losers in the dummy. So in order to cut down on the dummy's ruffing power, you lead a trump early and often. Now, how can I figure out which one of these I need to use? Well, you sit and think about the bidding. Who bid what? Did somebody show a long suit? Maybe they bid and rebid a suit, may have rebid it twice, in fact. If that's a good, long, solid suit, then any losers the declarer has are going to go away on that suit if you don't take your tricks in his loser suit first. You can draw inferences from the early play as well. Who led what? How is the declarer attacking the hand? How is he approaching his play of the hand here? You can use it by counting points. We have talked about what Barbara Seagram calls the rule of 40. Basically, and we've talked about this several times, if the opponents are in a game contract, they should have approximately 26 points between them. You can look at the dummy. You can look at your hand. You know how many of the remainder that you have. That'll give you an idea about how many points your partner has. Can my partner have an entry to give me a ruff if I'm thinking about leading a singleton? That is a really important consideration. If you have a singleton, then the declarer rates to have some length and some strength in that suit. So if your partner cannot possibly have an entry, either to take the trick or to get in the lead and give you a ruff, then it's pointless to lead that singleton. So you need to think about the combined number of points and how they're distributed between the two defenders. And you can do that just by remembering there are 40 points in the deck. If the opponents are in a game contract, you have approximately 14. If they're in an invitational level contract, 3 of a major, 3 or 4 of a minor, 2 no trump, then they will have approximately 22 to 23 points. and you and your partner will be sharing about 17 points. And if they're at the part score level, which is anything below 2 no trump, then they have 20 to 21, 19 to 21, and that means you have about the same as well. So it depends on the level of the contract as to how many points your partner may have. And then if you can figure that out, then that can give you an idea about whether you should lead a singleton, for instance. Now, defensive signaling is an important tool for the defenders as well. It is hard to watch for signals. When you first start trying to do that, you just think, oh my gosh, I may know about it, but I don't always remember to look. What did my partner play on the first round of his suit? I see that small card there. Did he play a higher card or a lower card? How can I figure it out? Well, start with practicing attitude signals and then maybe a couple of suit preference signals. Count signaling is more difficult, and the suit preference signals and attitude signals are a little easier when you're first starting out. But don't try to do all three at once. That's a recipe for disaster and will make you throw your hands up in despair. Ask me how I know that. You take them one at a time and work on the attitude signals when you're leading. Remember, partner will give you attitude when you're on lead. That's his primary signal. So start with that one. You can count tricks. If there's a long suit on the dummy, then you can have a pretty good idea about how many tricks the declarer may have and how many more he needs to find. This can be very helpful when you and your partner are trying to plan out the defense. For instance, if you know that the declarer has 8 tricks based on the play to the first couple of tricks, and you can see a 6-card suit in the dummy, maybe he's in 3 no trump. He needs another trick. Sometimes deceptive declarers will try to sneak a trick by you, especially early in the hand, and lead toward a king in his hand. And maybe you've got the ace. When you can figure that out, sometimes you need to jump up with the ace and return a side suit that is weak in the dummy. We'll get into this a little bit more later. And then, of course, you can count not only tricks and points, but distribution based on signaling, bidding, and opening leads and things like that. As I said, the number one choice of a defense is the forcing defense, forcing the declarer to ruff and thereby causing him to lose control of the hand. This is the most powerful line of defense. I've had to talk to a couple of my partners about it, but once they see it in action and see how well it works, they're sold. When can I use it? Well, if you have 4 trumps in your hand or you suspect that your partner does, if you think the opponents are in an 8-card fit and you have only 1, there's a good chance that your partner has 4 trumps. If the declarer has 5, all we have to do is force him to ruff once. And now the person holding, the defender holding the 4 cards in the trump suit now has as many as the declarer does. And then if we can force him to trump yet again, now we have more than he does. The goal is to get control of the trump suit. When the conditions are right for forcing the declarer to ruff at least once or maybe multiple times, then this is the number one choice. This line of defense takes priority over all the others when it is available because it is so effective. One time I asked Ron Hinkie what I should do when playing against defenders who forced me. What can I do to sidestep that? And he just looked at me and said, try not to play against people who defend so well. I mean, short of discarding losers instead of trumping, if you got a known loser, you can always discard a loser. But eventually, hopefully, you run out of losers. And if they're running a long suit on you, eventually you're going to have to trump. And I hate it when it happens to me, but I love it when my partner and I can use it on defense. Now, you can force the declarer under several different scenarios. As I said, when you have 4 trumps or you think that your partner does, don't lead your short suit, lead your long suit. If you and partner have bid and raised a suit, well, declarer may be a little short in that. And notice we're forcing the long trump hand to ruff. We're forcing the long trump hand to ruff. Yes, he doesn't add to his trick total, but when you force the declarer to use one of his long trumps and you shorten his holding, he's in trouble. So this is the idea behind it. Very often you can use it with 4-3 trump fits. You may not always know that it's a 4-3 trump fit, but sometimes you do from the bidding. When declarer has shown a 2-suited hand, he's got to be short in one of the side suits. Take your best shot as to which one you think it is. Or anytime you can force the declarer to ruff early in the hand and shorten his trumps before he has the chance to get control of the hand, then that sets up the possible forcing defense. Now, the reason that we're doing this is because normally declarer will draw trumps and then run his side suit winners. Well, if you fix it so that you are making him use his trumps and he loses control of the trump suit, then he's not going to be able to cash his side suit winners. This works really well, as I said, when declarer has a 2-suited hand. It works the best when declarer has only 5 trumps. When I pick up a hand that has a 5-card major in it and maybe a singleton in a side suit, I used to look at that and say, oh, this is great. I have shortness. But then I have to think, well, it'd be all right if my partner had length in that suit. But if the defenders do, they could force me. And I need to look at my hand. What could I throw? What loser could I throw? I have been caught in the forcing defense often enough to know now that when I have only 5 trumps and a singleton, the opponents are going to try to make me use a trump every time they can. Now, maximum results are achieved using the forcing defense when the declarer loses control of the trump suit. This is the whole idea behind the forcing defense. And you can get really good results from it when they're playing a 4-3 fit. There's an art to playing a 4-3 fit. That's called a Moisian fit, after Alphonse Sonny Moise, who played a lot of 4-3 fits. We used to, when I played Gorin, you open 4-card majors and your partner could raise with 3. But openers had stronger hands than they do now. So the shorter your trumps, the better your hand needs to be. There is an art to playing a 4-3 fit. You have to set your side suits up first in case your trumps break badly. If your trumps break badly and you don't have your side suit set up, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. So when one or more of these conditions exist, look to see if you can force the declarer. And that calls for the lead not of your short suit, but of your best or strongest suit. Even if you have to lead from a broken tennis, this is still the right thing to do. It is still the right thing to do when you think that this is what the situation is. Are you always going to be right? Of course not. You guys know there are no guarantees in this game except for the rule of 11, and that's mathematical. It requires some experience to recognize the opportunity to use the forcing defense, but the rewards are enormous, enormous. Here's an example. East opens a spade. West bids 3 no trump. This bid is conventional. It's the reason I started there. It says, I have 3 cards support for you, partner. I have a game going hand, but I have a flat hand. There is no ruffing value in my hand at all. So I'm giving you a choice of games. If you have a lot of distribution, maybe you would prefer to play in the suit. But if you have a relatively flat hand also, maybe we should play 3 no trump instead. So that's what that bid means. Easton bids 4 hearts, saying, I have length in the major suits here, partner. Let's don't talk about no trump. I have both majors. This is at least 5 spades and 4 hearts. Now, with equal number in both suits, West takes his partner back to the first one that he bid. So, here you are. You're sitting south. The opponents are in a game contract. I have 7 high card points. And note, I have 4 trumps. I have singleton in the heart suit. Many, many times people take the attitude here that, oh, I can get some ruffs in the heart suit. Well, that might be possible if your partner had bid hearts, but declarer bid hearts. It's a reasonable assumption if you lead a heart that if partner has the king, you can see the queen, jack, and 10 on the dummy there, but if partner has the king, you've just finessed him out of it. And yes, declarer can do that the same as you can. But based on what we've just discussed, notice I have 4 trumps and I have a long suit here. So rather than leading my singleton heart, which my partner's not likely to have the ace of hearts. He may, but notice if I ruff a heart, now I have only 3 spades left and the declarer rates to be able to draw those easily. But if I lead my long suit, and I have a nice sequence here, if I lead the queen of clubs instead, well, I lead the queen, and it wins the trick. Notice the king of clubs is sitting here in the dummy. This is what's called a hanging king, and it's in peril. It's in peril, particularly if the declarer doesn't have the ace. We're looking at 3 fast losers in clubs here if we're not careful. So once my queen holds the trick, well, I'm going to lead the jack. I'm try it again. This time, declarer covers the jack with the king. Your partner plays the ace of clubs, and declarer trumps that second club. He started with only 1 club. Then declarer leads the 10 of diamonds at trick 3. Which card should you play, and how can we beat this contract? If you think about this, with 7 points here, your partner has already played the ace of clubs. Let's look at this dummy here. This is a 17-point dummy here, 7, 10, 14, 17. Declarer has at least 12. That's 29 points. I have 7. My partner has just played the ace of clubs. That's all the points in the deck, folks. My partner can't have another thing except for that ace of clubs. So if this hand is to be defeated, it is up to South. What should South do? He has to hop up with that ace of diamonds and lead another club. Another club, forcing him to ruff again. If he started with only 5, he will be down to 3 trumps. If you duck, you play second hand low like we tell everybody, and most of the time this is correct. He's leading toward the king. If you hop up with the ace, well, that king is now good, but he's always getting the king because he's sitting in the right place. But what you have to do is take that ace of diamonds. That's 2 tricks. If declarer ruffs again, he is now down to only 3 trumps. I have 4. That puts me in the catbird seat. I have more trumps than the declarer does. I'm in a really good position, and I have only a singleton heart. He tries to run his hearts. Well, he's not going to get anywhere because I have more. If he plays 2 rounds of hearts, I'm going to ruff and I'm going to play another club. My clubs are all good. He is really on the ropes. This is the beauty of the forcing defense. And notice, we didn't lead the singleton. Now, when your tricks can disappear, you must take a very active defense. You must, because if your tricks disappear, you have to lead unsupported aces, you have to underlead broken tennises, because it doesn't cost anything. If your tricks are going to go away on a long suit, for instance, then it has not cost you if this active defense doesn't work out well for you. Maybe the declarer is just too strong. But if you give him enough time, when it is possible that your tricks are going to disappear, then he's going to be able to set up that long suit, draw trump, set up that long suit, and pitch his losers on that long suit. So when you're facing this particular situation, that's when you need to say, okay, I've got to lead actively, do things I wouldn't normally do to try to get my tricks. So how can I know? Well, one of the opponents bid and rebid a suit, indicating at least 6 cards in it. If they have bid strongly, there's a good chance that that is a good suit and will not require a whole gob to set it up. If somebody opened with a gambling 3 no trump, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a 7-card running minor suit. The person holding that suit opens 3 no trump. If his partner doesn't have stops in the other suit, then he bids 4 clubs, and if that's the suit that partner has, then he passes. But if he has diamonds, he bids 4 diamonds, and they play 4 diamonds. So if it turns out that somebody bid gambling 3 no trump, and you're in a different suit, then you know there's a long suit that's going to be set up. When you look at your hand and you see that side suits are breaking evenly for the declarer, your hand is pretty balanced. If you have reason to believe that he's got 4-3 in a suit, and you have 3 of them, that means your partner has 3 also. And that 13th card will set up for it. If there's confident, enthusiastic, confident bidding, maybe they made a slam try but couldn't quite get there. That means that they have a lot of tricks somewhere. And under any circumstances, anytime you think your tricks are going to go away, then that's when you take an active stance. What's meant by an active stance? Underleading a king. Underleading a broken tennis like King Jack 10 little. Leading an ace without a king under it. You can always look for partner's attitude card to let you know whether you should continue or not. But anytime you think that your tricks are going to go away because the bidding indicates that there is a long-running side suit, then you have to grab your tricks early, because if you don't, you're not going to get them. Is this the way you defend most hands? No, it is not. Most of the time, you're going to defend passively. When your tricks are safe, then you play passively. What does it mean to play passively? Well, you don't help the declarer is what it means. You just sit back and let the tricks come to you. Don't grab your winners. Don't grab an ace the minute the declarer leads the suit. Don't break new suits for the declarer. That is one of the most important elements of the passive defense. I'll show you an example in a minute here of a frozen suit where the side that breaks that suit is in danger of getting no tricks in it. When you break new suits for the declarer, you help him with any guess he may have in the suit. So what does it mean? If I take a trick, declarer leads and I take a trick, I just return that suit. Or maybe I play a suit that he has already played. In other words, I don't help him figure out any of the other suits. Many times, beginning players are very busy switching suits and all like this on defense, and this is the very opposite that you should be doing most of the time. Most hands call for passive defense. So when should you defend passively? Well, if there's no evidence of a strong side suit from the bidding. Maybe you have the situation where declarer's hand is very strong and the dummy is very weak. Think 2 club openings. When you have that kind of mismatch, it is very important to defend passively. If there is a bad split, say in the trump suit, maybe you're sitting there holding 4 of them with a king jack. Just sit back, let the declarer find out about that bad split. When hands don't fit well together, misfits are often a strong indication of defending passively. After all, if you have hands that don't fit together well, then it's harder to take tricks and harder to make a contract. So the side that buys the contract is often going to have trouble making it because the hands are misfit. Don't help the declarer in that instance. A lot of times you have nothing that looks attractive when you're leading against a no trump contract. That's another sign that you should defend passively. Anytime the opponents have bid to any grand slam or against a 6 no trump contract, always lead passively. Many times the declarer who's playing 6 no trump has 11 tricks off the top, 10 or 11 anyway. He should, because he's in 6 no trump after all. He can't afford to give up the lead very often in order to develop a lot of tricks. They have to be there. If you underlead a king, you have just presented the declarer with his contract. You never, ever, ever underlead an honor against 6 no trump or any grand slam. Sometimes opponents bid tentatively, or you can tell that they have limped into their final contract. They may have overbid. And in a case where they have overbid, make them do the work. Sit back, don't help them. And of course, anytime you have key cards in their suit, when they're playing in a suit contract and you have key cards in the suit, just sit back and let the declarer take finesses and have them lose. So these are conditions for defending passively. Now, the most common situation that exists when you want to defend passively is when the dummy has no source of tricks that will serve as a parking place for losers or a long suit that can be set up in no trump. In the middle of the hand in particular, if you review the bidding and you look at the dummy, that's going to help you a lot. Now think about what your partner led as well and how he has played to the first 2 or 3 tricks. There are 3 types of dummies. One that has shortness so that the declarer can trump out losers in a side suit. That's an indication that you should lead trumps, and leading trump is generally a very passive lead. When the dummy has a long suit that can serve as a parking place, that means you want to defend actively, as I said before. And then there is the balanced dummy. No shortness, no long suits. That means sit back and make the declarer do the work. Don't break any new suits. Don't help him in any way, particularly in the case of a misfitted hand. Just make the most innocuous, safest lead you can, which is often a trump, because after all, it can't hurt to remove a trump from the dummy, especially if you've got honors in the side suits and you don't want to underlead them. That often gives the declarer a lot of help, a free finesse. Now, partner may have a card that can help you, But you can figure that out. If you're looking at a suit and you say, well, I need my partner to have the king or the ace here when I'm under leading a queen. If you subtract your points and the number of points that the opponents are liable to have based on the level of their contracts from 40, you can figure out pretty quickly whether your partner can have the card you need him to have or not. This is not a hard thing to do. While the declarer is sitting there making his plan, you can think about all these plans too. Defenders should make a plan just like the declarer should. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret. I have found that underleading a single honor from a 4-card suit against a no-trump contract is very seldom productive. Particularly when, say, it's King 6-5-2 or something like that. Odds are not good that I'm ever going to get a trick from that suit except from the king. So be careful about leading from a ragged 4-card suit, especially that's headed by only one honor. Even when you have 2 honors in the suit, say you have king, queen, little, if you lead one of those small ones, very often the declarer will get a trick with the jack and the ace. Maybe your partner has the jack and maybe he doesn't. I don't know about the rest of you, but my partners never have either one of those cards. So many times I just select, maybe I lead small. It depends on your agreements, of course. With one of my partners, I lead small from 3 little cards, and with another one, I lead middle up down. But whatever your agreement is, make a passive lead rather than leading a suit like that against no trump, because you often end up giving the declarer an undeserved trick. Now, here's an example. If you happen to be sitting in this west chair, this is west where you are, and here's the dummy. The dummy's on your left in this case. And you shift to the 2 of diamonds. Say we're 2 or 3 tricks in here, and you just want a trick, and you shift to the 2 of diamonds. This is a very aggressive lead. If partner has the ace, then you're going to get some tricks. If he has the queen, you'll be okay. But particularly if the declarer opened one no trump, who is liable to have the missing honors in the suit? Well, if you lead into the ace queen in the declarer's hand, you have given up a certain trick that you had. This kind of suit, when there's weakness in the dummy, this is why when your partner wins the opening lead and it's obvious that returning the suit is not a good idea. Maybe the dummy had ace 10 small in it. Your partner took a trick with the king. Well, he returns your suit. All he's doing is finessing you in that case. That's why he should turn to the dummy and say, dummy on the right, lead the weakest suit in sight. That's why a holding like this screams at your partner to switch to a diamond. Very often you have a situation like this that will enable your partner to take the trick. Well, on the other hand, what if the auction and looking at the dummy and the early play lead you to think that any losers that declarer has in the diamond suit are going to go away? Then shifting to the 2 of diamonds may be your best chance for taking some tricks. When you defend actively, you take risks that you don't take when you're defending passively. Most deals, you will want to play passively here and leave anything but a diamond. But if you have an indication that any diamond losers that the declarer has are going to go away on a long suit in the dummy, then leading the 2 of diamonds may not help you, but it's a chance you have to take because your tricks are going to go away anyway. It costs you nothing when you think that's what's going to happen. Now, if in that previous example, South is playing 4 hearts and he has diamond losers, maybe he has honor third, queen third, or even 3 small, he's going to lose those diamonds whether you lead the suit or not, unless he can discard them. If the other suits in the dummy are essentially worthless, declarer's going to sit there with those losers until they're lost. If the dummy hits the table, though, with a side suit that looks like this one, and of course this is made up, you never see a side suit that's quite that good usually, but he can have a good suit. Then the defense had better shift to a diamond right away, because those 3 diamond losers that Claire may be sitting there with are going to go away on the side suit that looks like this if the defenders don't take them very quickly. Now, is there any way to know whether there's a long suit before the dummy actually hits the table? Here's an example auction. 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 hearts, 4 spades. Responder has an independent spade suit. Now, because the dummy has bid and rebid hearts, don't be surprised when a suit that looks like this one hits the dummy. This kind of auction calls for an aggressive lead, maybe an ace empty suit, an ace with no king, in other words, or the 4th best from king, jack, 10 small, or king, queen, 10 small, something like that. Or if instead you see one that says 1 heart, 2 hearts, 3 hearts, 4 hearts, very unscientific auction. They have basically limped into game here. This is a prescription for a very passive lead, even on the opening lead. Now, does that mean that if you have ace king that you shouldn't lead it? Of course not. Of course not. But very often you don't have ace king. You have suits with honor 3rd or even honor 4th. Maybe you have a king, jack, 4th in one suit, queen 3rd, another suit. Just make the most innocuous lead that you see from your hand. Another way, another technique that defenders can use is to create trump tricks for their side. Whether that's trumping declarers winners or promoting a trump trick for your side that didn't exist previously, that this is an excellent way to develop enough tricks to defeat a contract. Now, how can I create trump tricks? Well, if I'm short in an unbid suit and I don't have 4 trumps, remember, if I have 4 trumps, even if I have a side suit singleton, I'm going to leave my long suit in an attempt to try to force the declarer. If you have length in a side suit that the opponent's bid and raised, well, if you have length in it, partner doesn't. So that makes that a very good choice for a suit to lead. Maybe you have a weak hand with no better line of defense. Sometimes that's your only option, is to try to develop ruffing tricks. You can try to promote trump honors. You can use uppercuts, or you can ruff some of the declarer's side suit winners. This is what happens when you use a forcing defense and you take control of the hand. All of a sudden, declarer's side suit winners aren't winners anymore. Now, leading a short suit and then roughing out any potential tricks that declarer has in that suit is one of the most widely used lines of defense, and that means, of course, that it is sometimes abused. Too often, a defender's short suit is declarer's long side suit, and what you're doing, in effect, is helping him set it up. You have to be really careful and think about whether this is a good tactic or not, because you run the risk of giving declarer timing in the play of the hand. What do I mean by timing? Well, the defense gets the timing advantage because they get the opening lead. Timing just means that the declarer has time to set up a side suit. And if you help him set up one of his side suits, then he has the advantage now. You've given up the timing edge that you have on the opening lead and helped declarer set up a side suit. Try not to do that, even if you have a singleton. Now, when should I look for a ruff? I know you've heard it said many times that you don't lead a singleton when you have a natural trump trick, because that shortens your trump holding. Say you have queen third and your queen is safe from the finesse, then if you ruff and you have shortened your trump holding, now you have enabled the declarer to pick up that queen and avoid a trump loser. Losers in the trump suit are scarier than losers in a side suit. So experienced players typically do not lead shortness when they have a natural trump trick. Now, maybe I have a high trump honor. Well, I can take a trick. High trump honor means ace or king. Queens are third round winners, and by that time your partner's trumps are usually gone, and the declarer may just leave your queen hanging out there while he goes about his business. So when I expect to have an entry to bring off a ruff, in other words, if I have a doubleton and if I lead the suit and I can get in with a high trump honor, say I have the ace, if my partner can take the second round of the suit while I still have a trump left, then I have successfully used a small trump to get a ruff. Now, there's also the times when the situation is desperate. You don't see any other way of getting tricks except by ruffing. That means you have to look for one somewhere, if not in your hand, then in your partner's hand. But remember this. Instead of ruffing, creating trump tricks where there were none before is much more effective. Much more effective. You do that by promoting honors that you hold in the trump suit or by using an uppercut. An uppercut is really similar to what it sounds like. An uppercut in boxing, I think it's where one boxer catches the chin of his opponent with his fist and literally snaps his neck back, if I understand it correctly. And you can accomplish something very similar by using an uppercut at the bridge table. Now, this is accomplished by having your partner ruff a trick, and partner has to ruff with the highest card he has. If he can ruff with a jack, forcing the declarer to ruff with a high honor, that may promote a 10 or 9 in your hand as an eventual winner. That's very satisfying when you can create a trump winner where none existed before. Now, this always, when we start talking about this situation, we have to think about, well, when is it right to lead a trump? Well, as I said earlier, when you're defending passively, leading a trump is often a very good idea. But I don't know about the rest of you, but I grew up. I was in my bridge youth. I heard, when in doubt, lead trumps. Well, that's not a good expression. That was disproved years ago. The correct saying is, when there is no doubt, lead a trump. So that begs the question, when should you lead trumps? Well, first and foremost, when declarer is playing in his second suit, put a trump on the table. Most of us don't expect that all of declarer's first suit has nothing but winners in it. We know that the dummy is short in that first suit. And I'm not talking about a convenient minor. I'm talking about a major suit opening bid, one heart, say. But they end up in a minor suit. What does that mean? That means the dummy is short in hearts. That's what it means. And any losers that declarer has in that heart suit, he'll want a trump on the board because partner has to be short. Otherwise, he'd have supported. So when declarer is playing in his second suit, a trump should almost always hit the table. Anytime that a responder just took a preference, We all know what taking a preference is, right? We don't support the suit the first time. Let's say, for instance, partner opens a heart. You bid a forcing one, no trump. Partner rebids 2 clubs, and now you bid 2 hearts. That is merely taking a preference. Merely taking a preference. Same thing happens with 1 heart, 1 spade by responder, 2 clubs by opener, 2 hearts. I prefer hearts to clubs, partner. I'm not great in either one, and I have a weak hand. I have to take a preference. When your side has a trump stack, it can often be advantageous to lead the trumps so that once the opponent declares trumps are gone, you can cash your side suit winners. If the hand is a misfit, remember, we said we were going to defend passively when the hand is a misfit. Well, the classic passive lead is a trump. Anytime the bidding suggests that the dummy has shortness in a suit, maybe he bid 2 suits and he raised a third one that his partner bid. When dummy denied no trump, that must mean he has a really short suit and declarer is going to want a trump. If you have control of the other suits, leading trump is the safest thing to do. Don't underlead one of your honors unless you've decided you have to defend aggressively. Just lead a trump. At any time, the opponents are sacrificing. If the opponents bid 5 diamonds over your 4 spade contract and it is clearly a sacrifice, put out that red card to double it and then put a trump on the table. One of the techniques that the opponents are going to want to use when they're sacrificing is using their trumps in the dummy to take tricks to try to minimize their losses. When you're sacrificing, you do not expect to make your bid. You are hoping merely to go down few enough tricks that you give the opponents fewer points than they'd have gotten if you allowed them to play 4 spades in the example that I gave. When the opponents are sacrificing, you put a trump on the table if you have one. If they have a great long trump suit and nothing else, there's a possibility you won't have one, of course. So these are the instances when you want to think very seriously about leading a trump, which is a classic passive lead. Could you finesse your partner? Of course you could. But if you could finesse your partner, the declarer can do the same thing by going to the dummy and leading through your partner. Now, I discussed most of this previously, so I'm not going to go over this again. But another time when you want to lead a trump on opening lead is when you made a takeout double and your partner converted it to penalty. You said, okay, you've made a takeout double. You have strength in the other suits, and I have a lot of trumps over here. If we can get rid of declarer's trumps, and I think I can do that because I have so many of them, he's going to have trouble drawing them. That's the principal criterion for converting a takeout double to penalty. Then we're going to set this puppy several tricks here. So when your partner converts your takeout double to penalty, put a trump on the table if you have one. You could be void. But if you have one, put a trump on the table. Now, here's that old story again. It's your hand. You and your partner have a really good chance of making a major suit game, and maybe those pesky opponents decide to sacrifice in another suit. You want to lead a trump to reduce the declarer's ruffing power, because taking tricks with trumps by trumping losers is one of the primary ways they're going to want to try to minimize their losses here. But remember, it's not always easy to predict when a trump lead is right. If you practice looking for the conditions for a trump lead, then you'll learn to recognize it more often. But I've seen many hands where a trump lead wasn't obvious, but it was the only lead that would break the contract. But it's not too late to switch to a trump when you're in the lead for the second time. And if you get a look at the dummy and you say, oh, I should have let her trump. Well, if you get the lead, then you still have a chance to put a trump on the table. If the dummy goes down with shortness that you didn't expect, and there's no source of tricks in that dummy otherwise for disposing of losers, then a trump lead can be very effective, even if it's not the opening lead for your side. Now, here's more about passive defense. Let's look at this suit. Let's call this north, and the jack 3-2 north, and the queen 8-5 the south hand. South is the declarer. This holding is what's known as a frozen suit. So Donald Compton likes to call it a never ever suit. Means the same thing. If the declarer has to lead that suit, the defenders will get all three tricks. In other words, if South leads low toward the jack, West cannot hop up with that ace. He must not hop up with that ace. He should play small, and then East takes the jack with the king. Then if he returns the 6 through the queen, well, now West takes that trick, and the defense gets 3 tricks in that suit if the declarer leads it. Conversely, if the defenders lead the suit, say East underleads his king, if you see something like this on the dummy right here and you're holding the king, you have to think long and hard about underleading your king. But if the defender leads the 6, South will play low. Here comes the ace. He has to play the ace in order to take the trick because he can see the jack on the dummy. Then if he returns another low card, declarer puts up the jack to force the king, and now he gets a trick with the queen. So the side that breaks this suit ends up on the short end when the layout is like this. And this is not an unusual layout at all. This is why when you're defending passively, you don't break a new suit for the declarer, because you run the risk, a very high risk, of solving his problem that he has in that suit. Notice, declarer has 3 potential losers in this suit. If he leads the suit, he gets no tricks. The only time he can develop a trick with a holding like this, if he also has the 10. And you're not always so lucky. When you have the queen and jack in 2 separate hands with 2 small, if you lead the suit, you're getting no tricks. That's one. This is a frozen suit. You want to try to make the defenders open that suit for you, and that's why it's so important that when you're defending passively, you don't break the suit for the declarer. Now, we're going to take just a few minutes here and go over some examples, and then we'll talk more about this next week. In this auction, South opens a spade, North bids 3 spades, limit raised with 4 card support, and South says, okay, we'll play game. West is on lead. What's he going to lead? Let's see, 1 spade, 3 spades, 4 spades. Okay, well, first thing I see that I'm not leading is a small diamond. Why are we not leading a small diamond here? Anybody know?
We don't want to underlead the ace.
Underlead an ace.
Right. You guys get an A+. An ace not supported by the king. If you have the king, by all means lead the ace. But we're not leading this suit at all. Number one, we never underlead an ace against a suit contract. It's the single worst lead in bridge. We don't want to. Watch what happens if we lead the ace. Well, here's the king, and here's the queen. Is declarer entitled to 2 tricks in that suit? Absolutely not. So we discard the diamond suit totally for opening lead. We could underlead a king. We have king of clubs and king of hearts. But underleading a king, remember, is a very aggressive lead. Is there anything in that auction that makes us think that we need to be aggressive? I don't see anything. Looks to me like a passive lead is called for. We know that the opponents have 9 trumps between them because that limit raised should show 4 of them. Always. There are better ways to show a 3-card limit raise than jumping directly to the 3 level. So we know they have 9 trumps. I have 3. That means my partner has at most 1 of them. Because the declarer could have 6. We don't know for sure. He could have 6. In that case, my partner has no trumps. Now, let's look at my hand further. I have 10 high card points, and the opponents are playing in a game. How many points does my partner have? Can he help me with any of these things? I'm figuring if they're in a game contract and I have 10, my partner has at the most 4. This is easier to do in a no-trump contract because distribution doesn't figure in as much. But you can still use it against a suit contract. So I'm looking at my hand and, well, my partner could have the ace of hearts, but I don't know about the rest of you, but my partner never does. Never has the ace of hearts. And leading the 2 of hearts is nothing but foolhardy. That's just asking to lose your king. Underleading the king of clubs, well, in this case, partner has the queen, but why are we helping the declarer here? This is a very aggressive lead. If you underlead the king of clubs, partner will play the queen. He doesn't have the 10. Here's the jack. If he had the queen and the 10, he could put the 10 on the table and retain his queen. But he doesn't have a choice. He has to play the queen. Declarer will take the ace. Later on, he will lead toward the jack and you'll get your king. But after he pulls the trumps, he now has the jack and the 10 left. You help the declarer develop 2 tricks. That's why underleading a king is considered very aggressive. So if we're not going to lead a diamond, leading a heart I would cross that off immediately. I would never lead low from King Doubleton unless my partner bid this suit, and in that case, I'm leading the king, not the 2, because I don't want the suit to block. Underleading the king may work. If partner has the ace of clubs, well, yeah, it's possible, but why do I need to take the chance? So I'm going to lead a trump. So if you follow the Boston guideline, bottom of something, top of nothing, you'll lead the 7. But if you and your partner have a different agreement here, you might lead the 5 or the 4. So declarer is going to draw the remaining trumps. There's no reason not to here. And then he's going to lead a diamond toward the king. Playing passively, declarer must play low. I'm sorry, declarer, not declarer, West. West must play low. He says, oh, well, okay, that worked. Then he leads a heart toward his queen. He's on the board. So he wanted to be on the board to take this heart from us. So he leads a low heart. East plays low. He plays the queen, and you win your king. Now he can return a heart. That works fine. You don't want to take your diamond ace, though. You don't know what the declarer's holding is. Just return the heart. Declarer will win his ace. Remember, West doesn't want to break a new suit. What he wants is for the defense to break the club suit for him. South then leads the queen of diamonds. He says, well, okay, I'm going to lose this queen, I know, because the ace is still out there. But maybe one of the defenders will break the clubs for me then. Well, he leads the queen. West takes his ace. He has no more hearts. He has no more trumps. He has only 3 small diamonds and the king third of clubs left. He needs to lead another diamond. Partner has the master card, but of course declares going to ruff. West still refuses to break the new suit. Now the club suit is up to the declarer to play. And no matter what he does, he has to lose 2 tricks in the suit. He cannot avoid it, assuming the defenders play correctly. If he leads the jack off the board, East has to cover. If he leads low from his hand, West needs to duck. So, this contract is set by using passive defense, winning a heart, the ace of diamonds, and 2 club tricks. Whereas if the defenders break the club suit for the declarer, he makes 4 spades all day long. Okay. Does anybody have any quick questions about any of this?
Yeah, this is Gail. I have a question. If your partner bid and you lead out the suit he bid, is that active or passive?
This assumes most of the time when you're trying to defend a suit contract in particular, if your partner has bid a suit, that changes everything. That just makes sense, because presumably if your partner bidded and he didn't overcall a jack high suit, there are a lot of people out there that overcall jack high suits, which is acceptable only if the overcaller has a full opening hand, because the contract could belong to your side when overcaller has a full opening hand. But that should represent a source of tricks for you. So that would be active defense, because you're taking your tricks in the suit before declarer can discard his losers. But remember, bridge is a partnership game, and sometimes even if you think you should defend totally passively, if your partner has bid and you like playing with your partner, one of the best ways to keep him is to lead the suit he bid. In particular, if you're married to your partner, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nobody wants to ride home from the game on the hood, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you for attending, everybody. Hi, this is Susan. Thanks for stopping by the Oklahoma Collective's YouTube channel. Basically, this channel shows recordings of our free 1-hour bridge lessons for advancing players that we offer every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you would like to join us, send your contact information to the email address shown on the screen, and we'll be happy to send you the link. If you would like to follow our channel and be notified when a new recording is uploaded, just click the Oklahoma Collective button below. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.